I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the top of the Big East because I think that it's really interesting. And the biggest result from last night, all due respect to Tennessee, who may actually be back to you. I might pick your brain on that here at the end of the show. But I think the biggest result was Purdue taking a loss at home in Mackey Arena in a building that I said was the toughest home environment in college basketball right now. So we're going to talk about that here in a little bit as well. But I got to lead things off with your ACC, T.O., and I got to lead things off with the North Carolina Tar Heels, who are now 12-8 on the season. They are 1-7 in quad 1 games. They do have 4 quad 2 wins, but they also have a quad 3 loss that they took at home to Stanford. They go on the road last night and lose 67-66 to a Wake Forest team that is in a similar kind of bubbly situation. Tio, I know you watched that game. I know you know the ACC as well as anybody. You're going to be on the ACC network here doing some studio stuff. You did some games, so you are – look, you're always going to be our Mountain West guy, and you are an honorary member of the Big East Mafia. But in your heart of hearts, you belong to the ACC, and we can all accept that. So talk to me about Carolina, about Wake Forest, about that game. And you know, I feel like they're in a bad spot, the Tar Heels, man.
I'm a huge Big East guy, massive Mountain West guy, an all-time ACC guy. So I'm just coming up with different slogans for every conference. I'm going to Southern SEC guy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to keep coming up with these things and hashtagging everything I can find. Guys, I was up and down. You know, at the beginning of the season, I was like, I think Carolina's going to be fun to watch. And they have been fun to watch. It's been fun. Hadn't resulted in a lot of wins, but it's been fun to watch because they're streaky. They have times where they shoot the ball. They have these electric plays like Ian Jackson dunking all over Wake Forest yesterday. Woo! They have these plays and these spurts that's just so much fun to watch and be a part of. They're just so small. They're just so small. And there's nothing that they can do about it this season. Makes it hard. They missed out on some centers. I saw Theo Pinson and Goodman get in a little bit of a tiff on Twitter. He's like, how could you see this game and think it's the coach's fault? Well, the coach put the players on the team. So it is a coach's fault. But, they struck out on a couple of guys. It kind of is what it is. And they're like, you know what? We'll be able to put enough rim pressure on because we have the quickest guards in the country. And they do have some really quick guards. Just hasn't worked out the way everybody planned. I will say Wake Forest, that was a game they needed to win because I'm not saying it would have been a bad loss, but it's sneaking up on one because if Carolina keeps trending in the same direction, they're going to be in that quad 2, quad 3 conversation. I never thought I would say that at the beginning of the year. I thought North Carolina would be a tournament team. I didn't think they'd be great, but I thought they'd be a tournament team. Now they're firmly and squarely on that bubble with really only one non-conference win to show for it in UCLA, and UCLA hasn't set the world on fire. So it's a very interesting thing in North Carolina. Good for Wake Forest for getting that. They're creeping into the should be in the tournament category. But Carolina, as that's happening with Wake Forest, Carolina is trending the other direction. So I think the conference gets 5 in. I think, those 5 are going to interchange right at that 4, 5, 6, 7 mark.
Mm-hmm. Fanta?
Well, the difference in what North Carolina thought they would be and what they really are lies in a game like last night, where North Carolina only goes to the free throw line a total of 10 times.
Yeah.
And Wake Forest goes 27 times. And don't tell me Wake got a good whistle, because I watched the game. I actually thought there were a couple instances in the last 5 minutes that they could have even gotten 1 or 2 more whistles on some contact at the rim. I want to credit Steve Forbes. He went with a 1-3-1 zone late. That is a terrific job of coaching. Right
Great
there.
Call, Fanta.
I thought that was just a great wrinkle in the game plan, and it threw North Carolina off. And if you want to say, well, last night's not on the coaching, explain this to me. You have one of the best bucket getters in the country in R.J. Davis. You have Seth Trimble, who I know can score. And you've got enough. You've got enough different guys who can get you a bucket. And they went over 5 minutes at one point in the second half without scoring a bucket. Here's the crazy thing about that. They ended up taking the lead. They were down by 10 and took the lead in this game. When in the second half, they went over 5 minutes on the road against one of the better teams in the Atlantic Coast Conference. and you still can't find a way to win. And you can't find a way to win because if you watch the last 3 minutes of the game, look at which team managed the game better. It was Wake Forest. How? They created dribble penetration. They moved the basketball and they hung on to the ball.
Yeah.
And they got enough contributions last night. I thought late, Efton Reed hit some huge free throws, stepped up at the line and made some big free throws. Cam Hildreth, took him 16 shots, but he didn't. Guys, Cam Hildreth did not leave the floor. He played.
No, they didn't sub. Hey, Fanta, they didn't sub once in the second half.
Yeah.
He played 5 dudes the entire second half.
Well, that's a coach in Steve Forbes who knew that he had to win that ball game. And, it speaks volumes to me because his team shot 2 for 15 from 3, and they found a way to win the game.
Yeah.
So it's a game that Wake needed to win. Am I convinced on Wake yet fully? Well, no, because 13 of their 15 wins are in quad 3 and 4. So they have more work to be done. They've got a big one coming up against Louisville. So
the next 3 are huge, Fanta.
Huge. They got to capitalize on this upcoming swing. But for North Carolina, this is not an NCAA tournament team. It's not. I don't think that they're going to make the NCAA tournament.
I don't know if they will. I think that this loss for them is worse than it looks because Wake Forest had some real struggles finding ways to get going early in the season. And what I mean by that is they only beat Coppin State by 15. They only beat UNC Upstate by 5. They only beat Western Carolina by 13. They only beat Detroit.
This is the problem with the net.
I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily a problem because
it is a problem. They won the game.
Yeah, I know, but trust me, when we had just the RPI, people were complaining about why are we valuing a 2-point win as a 30-point win? Like how you beat a team should be factored in because when you have 362 teams and such a variance in the quality, I do believe that winning in blowout fashion and winning at the buzzer against the same team are 2 very different performances, and I believe that there should be some of that. I also don't think that it should be as much of an impact as you end up seeing. Right. I think that there's a way to be able to have more of an impact on the actual result than just having it be something where you run up the score. Does that make sense? Like, I think that you should get more.
We don't know the impact of the net in the room. I mean, we know it has an impact, but we don't know the degree of the impact, and their unwillingness to share it and be transparent about it is a bit problematic here for every.
And I agree with all that. Like, I don't want to. Yeah,
it's not a problem. Here's why.
Well, hold on. Let me finish.
Hold on, Nostr.
4 of the last 6 North Carolina games have been decided by 2 points or less.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a little bit of it doesn't matter who the opponent is. All these teams are playing. They're going down to the wire. When are they going to kick the crap out of somebody and make a statement?
I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. What the point that I was making is that I think that the reason this is a bigger issue for Carolina is twofold. One, they lost to all of their good opponents, right? Their entire resume was we don't have any bad losses, right? We don't have many great wins, but we don't have any bad losses. Then you lose to Stanford at home, which goes as a quad 3 loss, and frankly, that's a bad loss. And now you go on the road to Wake Forest, who, let's be honest, Wake Forest is like the way they're playing right now, top 30, top 35 team in America. Like they figured out Hunter Salas, they got Tyler Johnson playing pretty well. They've put this thing together, but you're not going to see it in their metrics because of the way that they started the season, the fact they didn't beat the brakes off of these teams. So this loss looks worse on a resume for North Carolina than it is. They go on the road and they lose by 1 to an in-state rival that's playing great basketball and happens to be 7-1 in their conference. Like on no planet will anybody ever consider that like a bad loss. You lost on the road to a team in second place in your league. One of the hottest teams in the country. It is what it is. But the fact that Wake Forest did not handle business in the non-conference the way that would have helped them more in the net makes this look worse than it is.
You want to talk about a team though that like Wake Forest, who guys, they're 15-4 and they're 7-1 in league.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's not a bad loss.
It's a good team, but like no bad losses, no great wins. But this is where the net thing, I'm just like, Jesus, like, what are we doing? Like, you getting punished for only beating Coppin State by 15 in the first game of the season? You're getting punished for beating Detroit Mercy by 10. Like, they beat them. Like, you're still figuring out things. This is where the argument for the net just loses me. It's incredible, really. So now they still have work to be done. But if you look at their losses, like Xavier, when Xavier was playing really well, Florida lost by 7. Florida's one of the best teams in the country. Texas A&M, really good. You lose by 13 at their place. Is that really a terrible loss? I would argue no.
No.
So they don't have a bad loss, and they beat Michigan.
Clemson.
Like, this is a good team.
At
But
Clemson, it's a good team. And here's the thing about Wake Forest. Like, they'll win a game in the tournament if they get in. Mm-hmm. Because, like, they're playing – look at their backcourt. Cam Hildreth has had some great games. He's had 30-plus in a couple of them. Hunter Salas is really good. Now, I will say I've caught a lot of flack from Wake Forest people. And let me just say this, and I'm going to say this whenever I get in studio. Everybody's like, well, you hate Wake Forest. I hate all of you equally. Conversely, I love all of you equally, but I hate all of you equally. There's no more hate with one team than there is another. I hate all of you. So there's that. But like Hunter Salas, what happened in North Carolina?
Terrence Oglesby, equal opportunity hater.
That'll definitely get him back in the ACC Network studio.
Yeah, I'm going to say it too. I hate everybody the same. Here's the deal. But, like, they were able to get into the paint. Hunter Salas could have a game in the tournament where he scores 25, 30. Mm-hmm. He scores over the top. He's big. They didn't take a lot of threes against Carolina because those two guards just bully balled their way over North Carolina's smaller guards. Now, the next stretch of games, Duke at home. If you get that one, everybody shut up.
Yep.
Everybody shut up. They get that one, they're firmly in. You look at that next game after that at Louisville, there's an opportunity. Pitt at home, still a really good opportunity. So it's like these next 3 games, massive for Wake Forest. I think they're a tournament team. If they go 2-1, they're a tournament team.
Yeah, but it's more than that, because if you look at the next 4 games they have after that, after Pitt at home, they have to go on the road to the West Coast. You play at Stanford, at Cal. You come back from Cal. We talked to Steve on Monday. They're not chartering that night. They're not taking a red eye.
Smart.
They're flying commercial, and they're flying back on Sunday morning. But since it's a Sunday, you have to take a day off on the Monday, right? So they're flying back on Sunday morning. They're practicing Sunday night. They're taking Monday off because travel days cannot be days off. So they're taking Monday off, and then they're going to have a full practice on Tuesday. Then you get Florida State at home, which is not an easy prep, T.O. You can attest to that. And then after that, you got to go on the road again, get on another flight, go to the Central Time Zone, and go play SMU on the road. So, like, they have, I think, one of the hardest stretches for anybody in college basketball when you factor in who they're playing, the importance of it for their season, and some of the travel.
Hey, here's the crazy part about that, and I know we're going to get off topic on this one, but, like, you want to talk about how football screwed up everything?
Yep.
Like, think about this. They're traveling back. What are the kids going to go to class? Like,
that's a big problem. Like, Wake Forest has no online classes. Stanford has no online classes.
When are they going to go to class? It's insanity. Like, it's ridiculous. It needs to be fixed for everybody else. For football, do what the hell you want. Nobody cares. But, like, for basketball, you need to get a little bit more regional because this is insane. We have a big freaking country. Like, if we lived in Spain or something, you could jump on an hour-and-a-half flight, no big deal. Our country's freaking huge. And the people at the Big Ten, the ACC, well, we'll just figure it out and let these kids, do home and homes with
look at the Big 12. Arizona State was at West Virginia and won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they go to Central Florida. And Central Florida goes to Arizona State.
Yeah,
it's insane. What are we doing,
guys?
Common sense has not prevailed. Common sense has not prevailed.